Thank you for joining us for another Tech Talk today, and I hope you're having fun at the robotics party. All right, our next speaker is Fatima Hussein. Fatima is a 2-time winner of the Gold Presidential Service Award and a 2-time TEDx speaker. She's the inventor of Perky 3D Prints and Unicorn Lock, a CAD and 3D printing-based business, and 2 Minute Maths, a YouTube platform dedicated to encouraging enjoyable math. She's also run summer iOS development boot camps, and she must be doing that in all the spare time she has after all this other stuff. After winning first place in the country's biggest bioengineering competition, this 17-year-old learned that age doesn't determine success. Perseverance does. So let's welcome Fatima Hussein.
All right, thank you so much, Ren, for that amazing introduction. Hello, everybody. My name is Fatima, and in today's talk, I'm gonna be talking about how I jump-started my 3D printing business, and hopefully from this presentation, you're able to learn a few tips for running your own business. So a little bit about me is I'm involved in a bunch of different STEM extracurriculars, but a lot of it surfaces around robotics and iOS development and 3D printing. So I've hosted 3D printing pop-ups previously in my local communities to showcase my 3D prints, like in my Unicorn Lock pop-up over there. And then I've also been presented with the Presidential Service Award, as Ren mentioned, where I was awarded by Joe Biden and recognized by him. And my most recent TED Talk was in November, where I was flown out to the UK to speak about a loop called Hell's Feedback Loop, which is a mentality-based presentation. And I've also been a part of a lot of bioengineering competitions, and I'm also a former member of my robotics team. And last year, we also placed on a global level where we were the top 2% of teams worldwide. And we were able to go to Texas, which was really fun. Like in that photo right there. So that was a really amazing opportunity. So some few tips of before starting your 3D printing business is, number one, to research your interests. Like just go on, Google and search up any of your ambitions or any passions that you think that there is a market for, or a problem that you see in your daily life that you think could be solved by 3D printing, and just narrowing down the specific target from there. And number two would be to figure out the type of problem and issue that you're trying to solve and how it can be solved with 3D printing or 3D designing or CAD modeling, and then writing a basic step-by-step procedure to kind of understand how you're gonna tackle that specific issue. And then number three would be to what sets your solution apart from perhaps the current solutions that are on the market, or if you are a unique solution, what would make the customer want to go to you instead of other potential markets. And I just want to talk about my 3D printing businesses. So the first 3D printing business that I founded was Unicorn Lock. And so basically, this was all self-taught using like Udemy and YouTube courses, because in my high school, we didn't really have any 3D printing courses. And I really wanted to learn how to 3D print in the comfort of my own home, and how to render a design that could be turned into a tangible model in just a few hours, because I found that to be really interesting. And then from there, I did a few CAD projects on my own and a few custom designs. Like I made a soap dish for my bathroom, and I made like Tesla Cybertrucks, just a few day-to-day life things that I could use in my home. And then I found a specific issue that I could solve with 3D printing, and that was the fact that I have a baby brother and he loves taking my stuff from my cabinets. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna create my own type of safety child lock with 3D printing. And so I realized that there's a market for this. And especially as a youth, I thought that I could leverage my age, and I could probably reach out and network and connect with babysitting clubs or daycare centers to kind of get my Unicorn Lock out there. And I did so successfully. And then after that, I founded my most recent 3D printing business, which is Perky 3D Prints. And this was after Unicorn Lock, and I realized that there was always a market for like 3D printed figurines and toys, especially the customizable types. And I've always enjoyed 3D printing and designing, and I know that people love having, customizable objects and toys. And I thought that using my 3D printing designing skills, that'd be a perfect way for me to utilize it for my business. And it also gave me an opportunity to work with like Shopify and Etsy and kind of market my products and reach out to other 3D printing businesses. and create online ads. And then, so I want to talk quickly about like the process. This is a very like simplified, narrowed down version of the process that I use to create my 3D printing businesses. Number one would be like the designing component, obviously, like kind of planning out your models and iterations. So I'll give you an example. Like for my unicorn lock, I probably had like 30 iterations until I really found the one that I wanted to use and I wanted to sell. So it definitely takes a while to figure out, you know, the best version of your product and then settling on that. And then number two would be prototyping. Of course, this comes with designing. Like you can design and then print it, and if it doesn't work, you just do kind of redo that procedure over and over again and compare those different versions. So this is some screenshots I have from Unicorn Lock. As you can see, I have a bunch of different designs and renders. And that was like one of the very few successful prints. I definitely had a lot of failed prints with starting my Unicorn Lock journey because it was my first time using a 3D printer and it was my first time printing on a 3D printer. So it was definitely a really unique experience for me. And I definitely learned a lot through the process as there was a huge learning curve. And then this is the journey of Perky 3D prints. There was definitely much less fails in this business compared to the previous one because I had a little bit of experience with working with Unicorn Lock. But as you can see, I still had some fails. Like I was printing like part of a FIFA trophy and it like messed up. So I had to like reprint it and it was a 10-hour long print. So I wasted a lot of filament, but I definitely learned a lot from that experience. And then also rendering it on Fusion 360, which is what I did for some of my clients because they wanted customizable objects. And so I created in Fusion 360 and then I printed it and then I sold them on my shop. And so when it comes to starting your business, I think a really important question to ask yourself that I think I didn't ask myself for Unicorn Lock is to realize like the scalability of your business. Like how specifically is 3D printing and how specifically is your CAD business scalable? I find that it's pretty hard to actually scale your 3D printing businesses because there's so many factors that goes within the whole process that could just mess everything up. And so therefore the things to keep in mind of would be like maintenance, like, you know, updates and costs. If your 3D printer breaks down and you only have one printer, you know, what are you gonna do? You know, specifically like target audience. Do you have a large target audience? Is it just a few people in your area? Are you gonna be able to profit off of your business? And also advertising, how are you going to market your product out there? And in terms of expanding your business, I think this was really helpful for me, specifically on leveraging my youth because I'm a high schooler. So it's definitely like really different, you know, to see, you know, youth individuals like tap into like these fields that you see usually like college graduates or engineers would usually tap into, which would be like 3D printing. So if you are a high schooler and know someone who is a high schooler who's interested in 3D printing, definitely get them to start because once you start, I think it's much easier to just continue going and, you know, just bouncing back through those failures. And then also starting locally, what I did is like I networked with my community. I got out to like my high school. You can post it on like local newspapers and local businesses. And then last but not least, I think this is the most important actually, is to like seek mentorship from people who have experience in these fields. I have one or two mentors who are really experienced in like 3D printing and designing and who have worked in like those big unicorn companies, and they were really, really helpful in my process. And I definitely like would not have gone as far without them. And then last thing I want to talk about is like the concept of failure. So I think especially like in school, right? Like it's very like obvious that once you fail, you know, you don't have the opportunity to retry on your test or retry for a better grade. And I feel like it doesn't really teach you the purpose of life, which is that failure is not only a part of entrepreneurship, but it's also a part of life. And it's literally inevitable. So here's some of my fails from Unicorn Lock. Like it was honestly such a mess. Like I still remember like my whole printer, like, oh my God, my whole printer like collapsed and it just got ruined because of this one print. And I had to like rewire the entire thing and it ended up being a drastic fail. But I actually learned a lot from that experience. And I think going back, I'm really grateful that I had that sort of experience because it's taught me a lot of valuable lessons working with my printer moving forward. And so some questions that I kind of like ask myself and I find to be really helpful is, you know, like what could have gone better and what did I learn from this? You know, you don't just fail, you don't just be disappointed and just give up. When you go through these like hardships and obstacles, it's always important to make sure that you're learning something from it and you're making sure that you're not repeating the same mistake again. because that could cost time and energy. Yeah. And then moving on and just starting over again, I think is really, really important as an entrepreneur if you want to be successful. Yeah, but that's basically it. You can connect with me on my LinkedIn. I brag a lot on there, so you can definitely, see a lot of my projects and a lot of my works. And, feel free to shoot me any questions if you're interested in reaching out or, just want to talk. I'm totally happy to do so. Thank you.
Do you want to take any Q&A?
Sure.
What do you print? You said
So basically for my most recent business, like Perky 3D Prints, I build like 3D printed like models and figurines. Like I printed like skull masks, like FIFA trophies, that I've created like customizable nameplates. So just a bunch of different things that I feel like people would enjoy having like on their desk or having in their room.
Where did you sell them?
I sell them on my Etsy store. It's called Perky 3D Prints.
Very nice. Cool.
Microphone.
How do you know how to your pricing? What do you come up with your pricing?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I kind of like figure out like the actual cost of the material, like the electricity costs, like the filament costs, and how long it takes for like my printer to run everything, and then take that into account, and then also take into account like my packaging, like how much I'm buying for each piece, like the material and the cardboard box. And then after I take all that into consideration, like I want to figure out like how much margins do I want. So I would say like, for example, like I sell like the FIFA trophies for like $20, like it's like a miniature version, but I probably like spent like $4 or $5 making it in total. So the great thing about 3D printing is that it's not actually costly to create the models. You just have to really fine tune your printer, and that's like the part that takes a lot of time and energy and effort.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all of your experience here. Still in high school, but what are you planning to do after?
I'm definitely planning to like continue running my own company and just kind of being my own boss. I'm not sure if it will still be these companies or if I find a new one that I have more passion or enjoy more, but definitely, continue running my own companies and being an entrepreneur is kind of what I want to continue, like my long-term goal.
You said something about scale, so just wanted to ask how you handle large volumes of printing then and how you handle it now. Is there a difference in that?
Yeah, so when I first started, I like just had one printer, for example, and it would actually like frequently break down a lot because I was new to like 3D printing. And so the thing with 3D printing is like it's a huge learning curve, but once you get over that learning curve, it's like really smooth and really easy. So if you want to scale, right, so that would depend on like how large you want to scale. If it's just like too medium, you could have like 4 or 5 printers. Like one person that I know, they have a pretty big business, but they have like a 3D printing farm in their garage. So they have like 20 or 25 printers that they continually maintain, and they have somebody separately to they're just in charge of maintaining those 3D printers. So you could just like hire somebody where their sole job is just making sure the 3D printers are running right and smoothly.
All right, thank you, Fatima.
Thank you.